Attention, veterans, patriots, family and friends of veterans, historians, genealogists, and those who love a good story. This is one of the continuing episodes of our oral histories, and this one is entitled Veterans with Valor. Again, attention everyone. Present arms. Order, arms. We honor all veterans and those who have served and their families who have supported them in all of the military. Each veteran and their stories are unique. This is going to be a presentation of one of the veterans, and on behalf of the Campbell County Historical Society and the continuing oral history project, and through the cooperation of the Campbell County media, we present this next episode and this is going to be a person that you will honor. And I would like to ask everyone to, when you see a veteran, thank a veteran, because they have done a lot of things. They are what makes America work, and so many times they go unrecognized. And even though we are losing 4,000 World War II veterans a day, and now I'll be in the area for a while, at ease and as you were. Here's our next guest. Well, today we're going to be doing our continuing interviews of Veterans of Valor. And today we're honored to be with Ed Schadler, who has been an insurance agent in Campbell County and Kenton County and Northern Kentucky at large for many years. But we're going to talk about his career as a seaman connected with the maritime industry and World War II. So at this point I'm going to ask Ed a few questions. I know you were born in 1926. Where'd you go to school?
At St. Mary's Elementary in Alexandria, and then I went to Campbell County.
Campbell County High School.
You're right, and in my senior year, about maybe 5 or 6 of us entered different branches of the service, and we were required to stay till January 1 to get our diploma.
And then they actually cut 3 months off of your high school career to allow you to be in the military?
Yeah, I have a high school diploma, yes.
Well, that's terrific that you were, but then you wound up not in the traditional branches, the Army, the Navy, the Marines, and of course the Air Force had not been formed yet, but you wound up as a volunteer civilian connected with the military. And what was it called? Maritime?
The Warshipping Administration.
And was that something that was a federal government agency?
Yeah, we hauled the cargo and the troops to Europe, all over the world, really.
Okay, so as long as you were a volunteer civilian seaman, that exempted you from the draft, and you wound up in probably more dangerous places than the Marines. The casualty list was pretty high for seamen on merchant marine ships, right?
The North Atlantic was horrible.
And what were you normally shipping?
Everything, including the troops, the ammo,
troops.
Everything.
Okay. Were there submarines in the North Atlantic that created a problem early when you were in the service?
Yeah, it was loaded up with subs, German subs. And the Italians had some also, but they were a little bit further south, and the Mediterranean.
See, that's what we don't understand so much. We don't ever hear about Italian subs, but it was obviously there, and you say they were in the southern Med. When you were in transporting point A to point B, did you do the actual loading of the ship, or were there people on the dock that did the loading, and then you just made sure that the ship got where it needed to be?
The loading of the ship was done by stevedores, and they were most of them were Union, and they would load 24 hours a day, and they would even work on the weekends because the supplies were needed in Europe. and they'd work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Yeah. Now, when you were fully loaded and then you got to the port where you were supposed to be dropping off, did you have free time then to visit some of the cities?
Well, at sea you would have sea watches.
Mm-hmm.
And the sea watch was like 3 shifts a day, 8 to 4, 4 to 12 to midnight, 12 back to 8. You had sea watches. When you get into a port, they would break sea watches,
Mm-hmm.
and you'd have a work day. And then on the sea watches, it was all relative to operation, keeping that vessel going forward or whatever else, whatever the condition was. But the primary reason for sea watches was to have somebody on duty all the time the vessel was supposed to be moving.
Right.
Okay. In port, they would break sea watches. And then there would be routine things that you didn't do at sea. You might paint a mast or work on winches, or maybe in some ports you didn't have stevedores to help unload. You would run winches to unload cargo or unload deck cargo like tanks and trucks and so forth. But it broke down to sea watches and non-sea watches.
I see. Now, these ships were all new because of the war industry, cargo and tankers. Were you involved in any tankers that held petroleum?
I was on one tanker, a ship called the SS Malay, Malay, and it was a Persian Gulf tanker that was in the Gulf for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And it never returned to the States for years because it shuttled from one country to another over there, usually hauling black oil. And then we lost so many tankers in World War II that they finally brought it home and kind of reconditioned it, and they was running it off the east coast of our country.
Now, isn't that amazing, though, how long those ships lasted when you consider they were very well built to start with? And if they survived the war, there was a pretty good chance they were going to be used for 25 or 30 years after the war. I know that you were in the Mediterranean, you were in the North Atlantic, and were you in any of the Gulf areas of like near Saudi Arabia or whatever?
Oh yeah, I unloaded in Oran, Algiers, Casablanca, Naples, an Italian port called Civitavecchia. It's CIV something.
Yeah, some type of Italian spelling that we would have a hard time pronouncing.
Yeah, they say Italiano.
Yes. So of all the seamen that you were with, I'm sure you kept up with some over the years. Is that a good statement? But what about the fellow?
Just several of them.
Several. Now, the fellow that had a wife and a child, did he have a child? Is that right? You smuggled him on board?
Yeah.
You want to tell us a little bit about that? Because there was a limitation of when wives who were from a different country came back to this country, there was kind of a waiting list, wasn't there?
Oh yeah, there was what we called the bride ships.
Uh-huh.
And there was so many European brides. France had a large number. Some were Italian and from other countries, but the bride ships, they would they kind of held off on bringing them back because they were bringing back the troops.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there were so many ships available, so many spaces available, and then I think I don't know really what they done there. They may have been mixing it up, but we would see the bride ships. We would be going east and meet a bride ship out in the middle of the ocean, and the reels would be standing about 4 or 5 women deep, waving at us. They were happy they were coming over this way,
Right.
and we were going back into the troubled area.
Now, at one instance, one of your friends was trying to get his wife and child, but there was such a long waiting list. Weren't you folks kind of instrumental in hiding them, smuggling them aboard your ship? How did that work out?
Well, I was in that one from the beginning to the end. I mean, the man's name was Francis Xavier Lockery, and I can remember this real well. His hometown was Guyneed, Pennsylvania, and he had been through Anzio, and he had been wounded, and then he was patched up and fixed up in England, and he was back in Europe again and got wounded, and in Italy he married an Italian girl named Ivana, and at that time there was like a long wait for so many brides out of Europe that there was only so much space on these ships bringing them over. There was a waiting list, and he was, because of, I guess, his injuries, he was in Valley Forge General Hospital outside of Philadelphia several times, and he decided that he would join the merchant seamen. We were volunteered civilians working for war shipping, and they put him in my room on the freighter, and there was 3 of us in the room, and we become to be pretty close friends because I was with him 24 hours a day, and I think he was not really familiar with what he was doing, and he was relying upon whatever help he could get, and we helped him. And when you left the United States, you signed something called, for the government or war shipping, that your vessel would go eastward in the Atlantic Ocean, and anywhere else in the world that your captain would take you, or would take the vessel, and that you would obey your captain, and you would, be obedient to him because of being an American citizen and all that. So we left Philadelphia. We loaded in Philadelphia for a load of cargo, and we left for the Atlantic, and I think the captain may have known, but we probably didn't. But somewhere in the Atlantic, we picked up the instructions we were going to go to Italy. And excuse me. And I think he got something, word somewhere of where it was going to go, or he was either gambling. But he had married this Italian girl when he was in Italy, and the vessel was going to Italy. And how all this, I don't know about. But then we went through the Rock of Gibraltar, made the crossing. We went through the Med, we went to a city called Czechoslovakia. You gotta look this up, it's CIV something. And Frank disappeared, and he was off of the vessel for maybe 2 weeks or longer while we were unloading. And one night I was uptown with a gang in a bar room, and somebody came up to the bar room and got me and said, "Frank's back in your room, and he wants to talk to you." And so I went back by myself, and I walked in our room, his room, my room, and I said, I said, "Frank, where have you been?" He said, "That shouldn't concern you." But he said, "Where's this thing going?" And I said, "We're going home." I said, "I don't know what port." And he says, "That's all I need to know." He said, I'll catch up with you," and he left. So we unloaded the ship. The ship finished unloading, and we went down the coast of Italy to Naples. And normally the North Atlantic is rough. And if you got a loaded freighter that's down 32 feet in the water now, you got 32 feet
below the waterline.
You unload that, and you're sitting about 2 feet above the waterline. You bounce around like a ball. So, especially in the North Atlantic. So you're going to get seasick if you're not a veteran. Okay. So anyway, we took on what they call ballast. and ballast is scrap jet tanks and airplane parts, and we'd put the ship down about 3 or 4 feet with scrap iron, and we'd come back empty. So we're in Naples Harbor, and I'm going to go uptown. Oh, I had a security watch, what we call a security watch.
And this is on the boat?
It was on a ship in Naples Harbor. And it was horrible down there because the times were rough in Italy, and money and clothes and everything was bad. And to walk through the dock area, which was like going through a horrible area to get robbed or knifed or killed, you had to be looking out for yourself. And I had the 48 security watch, and that meant I had to check the fire alarms on different places on the ship, and I had to keep the riffraff and the bums off of the dock from coming up the gangplank. But at 8 o'clock I was free. So when I got off at 8 o'clock, I went uptown to meet the gang. And Frank was there, and he says, "Where's this thing going?" And I says, "We're going home." And he said, "I want to talk to you." And it ended up why he had his wife, Ivana, the Italian wife, and the baby. They're in Naples with relatives or something. And he says, "Ed," he said, "we're going to take them home." He said, on the Edward Livingston. That was the name of the ship.
The Livingston.
Edward Livingston. So I says, "Frank," I says, "you can't do that." I says, "You're going to be in trouble." I said, "I'm in trouble. The captain's in trouble." I said, "To get into the States," he said, "You don't tell me that." He said, "We're going to do it." So it wasn't a little while later, some part of his end of it, here come Ivana, the baby, and a couple pieces of luggage. And it was after midnight or 3 o'clock in the morning, and there was hardly anybody on the ship even up. And if there was like one officer on duty, he was 3 decks up in his room, maybe looking at charts or maps or something, reading, I don't know. But we brought the wife and baby on board, and a little white dog called Deanna.
He brought his dog too, the baby's dog.
Little white fuzzy dog.
Yeah.
And the funny part about that was that I couldn't speak Italian, and the dog couldn't understand English.
Serious problem.
And there was 3 words, I know what they are, I can give them to you, but anyway, 3 words I could say to the dog after about a week, and it meant jump up. And we'd have the dog running all over the ship, and I'd go like that, and I'd say Dieter the Jew or something like that, and then the little dog would jump on my lap and start licking, he want to lick you and all that there. And I mean, so we kept the dog on board the ship, and the dog became a friend of the crew. It was Frank's dog. I mean, nobody knew about the rest.
And they didn't know because you kept them hidden in the compartments or various parts?
Yeah, we kept them in the compartment.
Uh-huh.
And then my turn was between 1 and 2 in the morning, and it was at a 1 level below the main deck. And you could go, I'm telling you all this stuff anyway.
That's all right, it's good. It's good.
Okay. You go back to the ship, the stern of the ship, the rear of the ship, and you made a left turn, and you went down a ladder, and then you kind of made a right turn, and there was a great big steel door, and that's where we had the ammo stored for the 3 and the 5-inch shells. Well, the war was over, nothing down there, and we took a mattress out of what was the armed guard's room. The war was over, no more an armed guard, just surplus mattresses. Put 2 mattresses in there, a water jug, and that's where we took Ivan and the baby, and 26 days coming over.
Takes a long time to cross the Atlantic.
Right, and you'd always, the thing there was that We was coming from the east, coming to the west, and we bucked the west wind all the way.
Yep.
And I mean, coming home, going over was a shorter trip going to Europe. You had the west wind behind you. Coming home, you was hitting the white caps in the heavy seas, and the ship would bounce around like a ball, and so forth. So anyway, 26 days coming over, and we had a big black man. We called him Fats, and he was a second cook. And we had another guy in the galley in the kitchen, would sneak food to us. It was Frank's buddy and my buddy, I guess, become my buddy. And we would take a bucket, and we'd take a bucket, and then we would take go to the, or he'd bring something over to our room sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
And then he have it wrapped up, and we put it in a bucket. Then you would get a box of soap powder and a scrubbing brush and put it in your left hand. You carry the bucket in the right hand. You walk from the midship back to the stern of the ship. You went in over some housing, down a step, knocked 3 times on the door, and she would unlock it from the inside. We'd hand the food in.
And the food was in the bucket, and it was a good
food and a drink
disguise.
was in the bucket.
Yeah, they thought you were going to go scrub the deck or something like that.
Well, you take a couple of T-shirts or a
Sure.
pair of trousers and carry them in your left hand.
Sure. Well, and you were very successful after the 26 days. What port did you land? Somewhere on the East Coast, I guess.
Yeah, I got to look in my scrapbook.
Well-
I think Philadelphia, I think.
Yeah.
I think it was Philadelphia.
So he was from Pennsylvania, and I guess he headed in that direction, but he was still obligated to be a merchant marine, even after the family was Frank, he was still,
Oh, no, he wasn't obligated.
oh, I see.
I mean, we would, you could quit any time you wanted to, but I mean, we were volunteer civilians working for War Shipping Administration, which was the government.
All right.
And you would go to a crew hall, like in Philadelphia. I went to Philadelphia and Baltimore a lot. And by the way, those were rough cities. But anyway, in Baltimore, when I was running out of Baltimore, the going price on the waterfront in Baltimore to get rid of somebody was all you needed was a picture, location where they hung out, and $25.
Pretty rough, pretty rough. So, how many years were you in the Merchant Marines?
I was pretty close to about 3.
And then after the war ended, it's time to move on with your life.
Yeah.
You came back to Alexandria.
Yeah.
Is that where you met your wife, or?
I met my wife in the first grade in school.
Oh, so she went to St. Mary's also. Well, and then after you were married in 1950,
Mm-hmm.
How big did your family get? I know you have one son for sure.
Yeah, we had 5 children.
5.
Yeah.
And they were all raised in the Alexandria area, and they all still live there, I guess?
Yeah, I've only lived in, I lived at home until I got, after I got out of service. And then I've only lived I lived on Washington Avenue ever since.
Ever since, well.
I lived on 305 now, I lived at 309, now I'm at 305.
Okay, and you also have an office out there, is that right? You're
I
not too
got
active.
an office handle stuff for that's out that way, because if they don't want to come over here, I mean, I can meet them out there in the morning or meet them in I got 2 rooms there in my house.
Yeah. Now, what year did you actually think about getting into the insurance business? Was this something that you stumbled into, or something that you made a plan to be the insurance agent for 60-some years?
Well, when I came out of service, or come out on the merchant ships, I was in the sales department at McGregor.
The sporting goods people.
Yeah, McGregor Golf, yeah, in Cincinnati. And then my car insurance, my parents was with State Farm, and the agent used to come to the home all the time. And I can remember him having a 1938 Chev. I mean, a black 1938 Chev car. And it turn the switch off, it would take about 5 minutes before it would stop running.
Pre-ignition or post-ignition, they had vapor fumes.
Right, anyway, I can remember him coming to my home when I was single. And then he kept coming back. He thought I would do well at State Farm. He said I would fit State Farm. And finally, I at that time I was with McGregor, the golf people, and then they kind of made an agreement to let me start part-time to see if I liked it, and I did, and then I switched over to full-time, and that was 1948.
And from 48 till 1968, or excuse me, 2016, that's 68 years you've been in the insurance business. I know you still remember a lot of names from very early in your business, and you still have friendships. Some folks have had you as the agent for 50 years or more.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And you're doing still every day you're here. Is that right?
Oh, every day, yeah.
Well, I'm going to ask you a little bit about some of these pictures on the wall.
First one is what we would call a T2 tanker. That was a bulk tanker that was hauled black oil, aviation fuel, and some of them you see the superstructure on the picture, the deck, so what they would put a structure on there, and you'd haul deck cargo. But it would have to be light deck cargo because your main cargo down below was heavy oil.
Oh, yes.
Light cargo.
Now, these ships had diesel engines by that time?
No.
And how many engines did they have for a tanker?
Oh, we had an auxiliary, but it'd be just two. I guess you're regular and an auxiliary.
Okay. They were pretty big engines. They'd have to be.
I guess.
Pistons probably 4 or 5 foot across.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that ship is from deck to the water is to the bottom is probably 40 feet.
Okay.
38 feet.
Now, the one that's passing under the bridge,
Mm-hmm.
and that's a traditional cargo ship as opposed to a tanker. Where is the bridge? Do you remember that?
The midship housing is the bridge.
Oh.
See, the number 1, number 2 mast, then number...
Okay. So anyhow, you're talking about this being the bridge, and I'm talking about this. See,
No. We're talking about the ship. That's going under a bridge on land.
I see.
Okay. The bridge on the ship is right there.
Yeah.
That's the bridge. The midship housing is called the bridge. And that was a Liberty, and there was 800 Liberties sunk in World War II.
800 Liberty ships sunk.
Right, and like one meeting I was in, the old guy said that the Germans were not stupid. Never waste a torpedo on an empty one.
Yeah.
So you can imagine how much cargo went to the bottom.
Absolutely.
Huh?
And that cargo was needed for the war industry, but the Germans were not stupid. Now here's a certificate and this medallion. It says World War II, North Atlantic War Zone bar, and there were 800 vessels sunk and approximately seamen lost worldwide, quite a few more than the Marines. And this little picture down here at the bottom is presented to you as an individual and the Project Liberty ship. So this was in 2013 that you got this presentation. Where were you? Did you have to go to Philadelphia or Baltimore where you could get killed for 25 bucks?
I don't even remember.
Well, so anyhow, you have lots of memorabilia, and you've been associated into the insurance business many years, so you've got some plaques on the wall there. Very few people have worked 68 years of their life, and then you had 3 years in the military, sort of military, and then you had a couple of years as a salesman. So you've been working 75 or 80 years of your 90 years. You're a tough man.
That keeps you young.
Well, that's a good attitude. Now, you've had a lot of people come and go that have been your associates and whatever here, but your current office staff, have you had them for quite a while?
I sure have.
Yeah. And your son is part of your business now too, correct?
Yeah, Larry's my office manager.
I see. And how many grandchildren do you have? See, this is always a tough question for me because I don't know which one had a baby recently that I don't keep in my mind.
Let's see. Tom. Golly.
Well, the reality is you've got a handful of grandchildren and you
Not
love
too
them
many.
all.
Maybe my oldest and Sue's got probably about, I'm just going to guess, about between 8 and 9.
Yeah.
8 and 9.
And that makes Christmas and birthdays exciting.
Right. May I have some there?
Sure.
Over here is a briefcase. And you're willing to look at it, but I mean, you don't, I have to look at it maybe over here, but I'm going to say
Maybe we can set it out here on the
Yeah,
table or something,
this
or
is-
take it outside.
this is,
This is your memorabilia?
though this is Boyd 7, I think this is this Boyd 7, bringing the war bride over. I think this is what's in here. I haven't had it open for years.
Well, here, I'll open it up and kind of look through it.
Let's
I
see.
want to know what happened to Frank and his wife.
Well, yeah, I guess that's a good question. What happened to Frank and his
Do you
wife?
keep in touch with them?
Oh, they live on Gypsy Run in Guyneed, Pennsylvania, and I haven't wrote a letter to them for a long time, or I haven't got from them. But is that what that is?
This is the Longray family,
Lockwood
Lough.
family. Yeah.
And the visit to the Liberty ship of Jeremiah O'Brien, San Francisco, California. So I know that you have kept up.
Oh, I think that might be. I haven't been in that case for 5 years. Isn't that their story about what was bringing them over?
It's about Jeremiah O'Brien.
Go up on the
and-
front page. Read the front part of it. I think they got. This is my.
Okay, in February of 1998, I learned about the whereabouts of the Longray family. We had numerous phone calls between ourselves, and I thought that when I started to inquire about finding them, the possibility of locating them was almost nil and a waste of time. To my amazement, the Old Friend Information Service that I engaged to do the location was a real winner. In a very short period of time, they were able to locate the family. Now, it mentions that they're in California. At what point did the Francis Xavier Longray, is that how you pronounce his last name?
Lockery.
Lockery, okay. Irish name?
I don't know.
Well, the reason I say that is Francis Xavier. There's a lot of Irish Catholic folks that name their, but at some point he wound up in California as opposed to Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
His wife is still living, I assume? Ivana?
I kind of lost contact with them. I ought to check that out, but I haven't done anything for a long time.
Well, you got an alpha staff out here that'll take care of that for you.
Yeah.
So anyhow, this is some handwritten letters from, this is a visit to the ship. And this is some folks coming out of the hold. Now, for those that have traveled on cruise ships,
Lean it to me a little bit because the
Lean it.
light is going to glare. There you go.
for the folks that have traveled on cruise ships, I can assure you, it's a lot better than traveling on a merchant marine ship or a troop carrier. And all those stairways, you almost have to be an acrobat to go down those stairways. And I noticed a lot of sailors slide. They don't use the steps. They just kind of slide down the railings and do whatever.
Right.
Now the ship called the Pointer, was that one? It was an ammunition ship?
That was a armed guard. The Pointer was a publication put out by the armed guard.
Oh, I see.
And see, on the freighters, we'd have like a 42-man crew keep it going all the time. Then we'd have 18 men on there that was Navy, and they would do our guns. We were still civilians, and I mean, we could help.
Well, you've got some very interesting photographs here of the big ship. Now, what's the difference between a ship and a boat? The length? Or you can put 5 or 6 boats on a ship?
Well, yeah, right. I mean, a ship is completely operated by itself,
I see.
and a boat, like a lifeboat, is
A boat.
yeah. It can, I mean, you can operate it with a paddle.
Well,
Sticks. But anyway, I got a whole bunch of this. See, this is
do you recall how many trips you made across the North Atlantic?
I don't know. I mean,
Just kept
we-
going, 3 years.
We usually take the North Atlantic going over and the South Atlantic coming back. And I rode tankers for a while. I mean, I was on a tanker that got hit once. It was owned by States Marine Corporation, but it was a Persian Gulf tanker. There's a tanker up there. There's a picture of the tanker up there. That's a modern tanker. I mean, I was on an old slowpoke tanker.
I'm going to read this letter that's in your file here, and it's dated 2005. Dear Ed, your birthday is around the corner, and I wanted to be the first to send you a card, as you were one of the first ones to see me many years ago at 2 weeks old, ready to hide out at the bottom of the ship. Since then, you have traveled far and wide, but no place is like home. And it's signed by Ed, the baby that you hid many years ago. And it says, God bless you and have a wonderful day. You are blessed. You're a great gentleman. Love, Kathy and Ron and family. Now, that's just something to be proud of, the memories that they bring in and the folks that you helped get to this country. At risk of punishment, nothing comes cheap. And we used to say kind of in the military, no good deed goes unpunished. And if the military ain't real happy with how you did things, then there's a big problem in your life. So you did that. They came home and became a successful salesman and a successful insurance man. You've kind of got your lifelong friends that you still meet in Alexandria because they don't want to drive across the Licking River. You can't get here.
That's all right. That's all right. And, I mean, I wouldn't mind going back out to California and visit with them. I went out and visited with them.
Uh-huh.
You know, I went out to California to visit with them, and I don't know if I got this right, but I don't know if it was in California, but I think that this could have been in California, just say it that way. I got to think this one through, but anyway, we go on board this ship, then we go down the ladder on the stern of the ship, like one deck down.
Mm-hmm.
You made a left turn, and there was like a wall and a big metal door we keep locked. And I was going to show, we was going to go back and look at the old place where we kept Ivana and the baby. And I said, well, I'll go back and I'll show you where, just review a little bit. And oh, that would be fine. So we go down step, make a left turn, and I opened the door. I said, this is what we used to do. 3 knocks on the door, and Ivana would unlock it from the inside. And we had a mattress over here, and that was their bed, no springs under it. And I said, I'm going to show you where we kept you on the way coming over, because we had 3 wraps and she would unlock it, because we rigged the door so regular crew couldn't get in there. And he looked at her and he says, Ivana, and she said, yeah. She said, this is that hellhole that she said I kept you in for 26 days.
Yeah. And, you know, you relive those memories, and it's certainly an intriguing story. I've never heard of anybody smuggling a family. You know, those are the things most people want to keep secret. You did well. You did well.
We had, my memory's good, but we remember so many things. One time we was up in a bar room in Hampton Roads, Virginia, and we got all hooked up with a guy who was going to help us get her off of the ship. And we had paid him something, or we were going to pay him something, and so forth. And the deal was that we was going to bring her. I can tell you all kinds of stories. Here was the ship, like this, this, and she's down here in a hole, one deck down like you are here, one down, and then our midship housing was up here, and my and Frank's room was right here. The first to come in the door, right here's our room. So we were going to bring her up when the crew was eating at 5 o'clock in the afternoon or 5:30. We were going to bring her up about 250 feet in broad daylight. They all over here and eating. So we was going to bring her up and put her in a room. Then we was going to sneak her around this way, and we had a deal with a guy with a bum boat who was going to come along the side.
And what kind of boat was that? A bun boat?
A bum boat.
Oh, bum.
A bum boat. They call them bum boats. It was like around there's like a 14 or 18 foot outboard motor.
I see.
And they would pick you up for $2 and take you over and put you on the dock, and then you could go uptown. So anyway, we were going to take her off the ship when the crew was in here eating, and we had it all planned, all worked out, and there was our room. So I was standing up here, and one of the others, maybe it was Frank, went back here. We bring her up out of the hole. We bring her up the deck of the ship in daylight. Nobody saw us. They're all there eating. And the guy was supposed to work around this way, and the guy was supposed to come along the boat. Well, with all this there, we waited 2 hours, and the damn boat didn't show up.
Oh. And then you had to take her and hide her again.
We reversed it, did the thing all over.
Yeah.
And it worked. We didn't get caught.
That's a lucky break
Well,
there.
how did you get her off the boat then?
Well,
Eventually.
here's the ship, and
I know, but another boat? You got another boat to come and get her?
no, we there was a dock. Here's the ship type alongside the dock. So we got her back here. We bring her up here. We take her over to the gangplank, and you go down the gangplank, and then you got to go out to security. And me and I think the bosun and Frank and we had a little dog along too called Deanna, and we go through the security, and there's a guy there in a little booth. Frank's first, or I'm first, I guess, and the dog's running wrong with us, and Frank and Ivan and the baby, and they didn't ask for any identification for her at all, so she went through clean.
Isn't that great? Sometimes things work out. That's amazing. What an amazing
Then
story.
we got a hotel room up in Hampton Roads, Virginia, and I went down and got a 6-pack or two and drank beer at about 11 o'clock and drank a couple of beers and go back to the ship and shook hands, and that was goodbye.
Isn't that something? It's
Huh?
amazing. What a wonderful story. Well, you know, you've been around the world, literally, on that merchant marine business. And then you did some traveling after you were married, didn't you?
Well, State Farm had trips all over the world. I was in Moscow and St. Petersburg, and I was Munich, Salzburg, Algiers. Algiers was with State Farm. I think it was on one of the freighters one time. I got chased one time by an Arab.
When he had a knife, I guess, and was trying to change the shape of your head.
I got that in my record book. I outran an Arab.
Well, good for you. You outran him and have done wonderful service for Northern Kentucky and all of the folks that you have helped insurance-wise. Did you have a lot of people that were insured during the tornado in 2012 in Campbell County and Pendleton County?
I really don't remember too well. I mean,
Yeah.
whatever we had, we had. I mean, I guess in areas where there was a lot of damage, I probably was there. I mean, what volume I had there, I don't know, because I mean, I'm sure somebody in Newport, or heck, I could have somebody with State Farm in Chicago move
Sure.
to Alexandria.
I understand.
And
Well,
as a
and
transfer.
that's the reason I ask, because you being a local agent, a lot of folks tend to stay with an agent 10, 15, 20 years, 30 years. And the amazing thing about that particular tornado, it was neighbors helping neighbors, got it cleaned up, and within 6 months, it was hard to tell where it had ever been. With the exception of today, there's still one tree that's got 10 hanging in it right at Wesley Chapel, and I guess until the tree falls over, somebody's roof is still in the tree.
Yeah, oh yeah, yeah.
Now, I usually ask if anybody has advice for the youth of today, the youth being people my age, 70 and under.
Whether the kid, they call you a young'un.
Yeah. Is there any advice that you would give these folks other than hard work and stay active?
Well, it's just, I don't know what you'd say. I mean, just you get on track and stay on track. I mean, you know, if you do something you think's working, stick with it. I guess, I don't know. I mean,
Well, it's worked for you.
Huh?
Now, you have some memorabilia out there in the other part of the office. Can we go out and do
Yeah,
some
look
filming?
at anything you want to out there.
All right. Well,
Yeah.
We'll do that, and
Yeah.
we'll let you get back to your.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Hard
I
work.
know. There's
Thank you.
there's stuff in here too. I guess there's old stuff in here that's there's some things in here that is probably pretty old. I mean, a lot of this stuff over here is stuff that accumulated over years. Those are awards. I mean, all that stuff.
I see you have some memorabilia from the fire service. Were you ever an active firefighter in Alexandria? Or just?
I was around before. I was around in '36 when I was. I used to go out with the fire department. I was old. When they first had that firehouse down there by me, I used to go out with the fire department.
I see.
I mean, I don't know what that firehouse on it. You know where I live?
Yes, I do. You're out on Washington, and Pete Nizer Street runs kind of diagonal to that, and that's where the I guess the second or third Alexandria fire station was. There was one at the courthouse, but this was the new modern thing that now is owned by Brossard. Is that correct? And they store school buses and the football equipment. And then the Alexandria Fire Department built a new building out on 27. But your proximity to the firehouse made you almost an asset that you could get there quickly and be part of the emergency response team.
Yeah.
So that was, I don't know what year, it was probably in the 60s, wasn't it, that they built that building? It's been around a while.
Probably so. I moved on that street in 1950.
Yeah.
I moved. Where I live now, the house next to that was my first house.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I've been on that street since May of 1950.
Well, you've seen Washington and Alexandria change a lot in that time frame.
Yeah.
Because Washington was the main drag through town till you got to Main Street. And then when they changed the direction of 27, it put it a little further to the west. So that cut down on the traffic on your street, didn't it?
Well, I probably would. I mean, I don't know really because in those days there wasn't many vehicles.
Right.
I mean, I don't know. I mean,
And in the 40s and 50s, there were still a lot of horses and wagons, I guess, but by 50s they were on their way out.
oh yeah. So no, but that is growing a lot out there, because I can remember when they put in trap court and right court, and there was nothing over on Poplar Ridge. That was,
Country, farmland.
yeah, right, yeah. A Kramer lived over there, and Jack Thatcher owned it. I don't think there was anything other than Jack Thatcher's big old two-story house sitting there by
Yeah, about where the
high school.
high school, right. And yeah, things have changed drastically. You've seen a lot of change in Alexandria and Campbell County, Kenton County. We do thank you for your time. We thank you for your service, your dangerous service out there on the Atlantic as a volunteer civilian. And, you know, that's something that a lot of folks, now you had a uniform, had a dress uniform, didn't you? Was it similar to the Navy?
I had one in training, but after we got on merchant ships, we were.
You didn't have a uniform, just wore dungarees.
I don't know where my uniform is today. I mean, but I had one. I don't know if there's any pictures left, but I mean, I had one when I was in Brooklyn.
Mm-hmm.
I had 4 months of training in Brooklyn.
You know, let's talk about that 4 months of training. Basically, you left Campbell County High School, you got your diploma, and then you wound up in Brooklyn Naval Yard getting trained.
Sheepshead Bay, it was a merchant seaman training center in Sheepshead Bay in Brooklyn.
In Brooklyn,
New York.
New York.
Yeah, it was on, they call it Faraway Point. It was way out, a point stuck out in the Atlantic Ocean.
So those 4 months, you were learning how to work on winches and work on various other components of ships. And some military drill, I guess.
Oh, yeah, you'd have Saturday afternoon, you'd have some couple hours on a drill field.
Uh-huh.
I mean, mainly was all sea duty on merchant ships.
Yeah.
Securing cargo and stuff like that.
When there is a fire on a ship,
Yeah.
everybody has to know what to do because there's no fire department that can come.
All right.
And they had fire pumps. Do they suck the water right out of the ocean, I guess, salt water? And do they use chemicals?
Yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah, well, you got auxiliary engines and auxiliary pumps, and they may, you got your assigned duties.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we only had a 38, 40-man crew, 44-man crew, and the bad ones were the tankers.
Oh, yeah.
150,000 barrel of aviation fuel under you. You couldn't outswim it.
No.
I mean, if it got hit hard enough, the fire on the water, you had a lot of training on how to swim through fire. You
Kind of spread the oil out and go through it.
break through it.
Yeah.
I mean, break through it. I mean, and of course in the North Atlantic, you didn't have to swim too far because it was so cold you couldn't stand it.
Right. And that's why there were so many deaths in the North Atlantic. The ships would be hit, and then the sailors would all perish mostly. There wasn't another ship close by.
Yeah, you found you couldn't hold the lifeboats and the choppy water and the white capping and the wind and even blizzards up there. I mean, you couldn't, visibility was low.
Yeah. Well, you know, the folks that will be watching this will give them a little bit more understanding of how severe the North Atlantic War was, even for civilians. So we appreciate your comments and your time for telling us this. It's certainly enlightening and an amazing thing that you have survived and been in business all these years. So thank you for your time and effort.
Well, you're welcome. That's it. So well, that's fine. So, but anyway, yeah, I mean, it was. You just grew up with the situation. I mean.
And you did what you had to do.
That's right. You had to do you had to do what was necessary to perform what you were supposed to be doing, and to survive that.
Yeah, and the war effort needed civilians. It needed people at home working in the industry where the guys had been drafted and whatever.